Welcome back, everybody. This is United vs. Everybody. I am your host, Sean, and I'm not going to lie, that was one big pile of shit, wasn't it? YouTube's not going to like that I'm already swearing, 4 seconds into the stream, but I don't even care. That was just, what was that? Like, is there a word? Is there a word that tastes bad enough, that's big enough, that's just enough to describe what we just watched from this squad, from these players? Because that was gross. Like Brighton, Crystal Palace have kind of been a little bit of a bogey side for us in recent years. But I mean, then again, who hasn't been a bit of a bogey side for us in recent years? They did the double over us last year, Palace, if you guys remember that. And we drew earlier this season. I think it was 0-0. I know I predicted a 2-1 win for United, but I did also say that because we have not won back-to-back league matches at all this season, that the fact that we beat Fulham recently meant maybe we were going to lose this one, just to kind of keep that pattern going. But it is what it is. I just had a sneaking suspicion that might be the case. Let me see what's going on in the chat. Everybody jumping in. Sanjay, good to see you, my friend. And now that's 2 lives in a row you're able to make it for, man. Good deal. Good evening, though. From Gajira, is that how you say that? Is that Malta? Is that where that is? Am I remembering that correctly? Danny B in the house. Big up, my guy. I hope you are doing well. Yeah, I feel that made me feel sick to my stomach. Dross, says Danny. Absolutely right. It is Dross. Danny. Sanjay says it is depressing. It is very much depressing. We got to that stage recently about the acceptance stage. We're past the anger. We're past the bargaining. We're just at the acceptance stage. Pretty rough. Box in the house. Good up. Big up, Box. Hope you're doing well, my friend. It's hard to do well after we watch that absolute shit show, but it is what it is. There's just no excuse for that performance. I thought to start, we looked half decent. We had a decent spell where it was just like back to back to back to back, like corners. We were keeping the pressure in their third and around their box. We were able, but it just, because there's just not enough creativity, not enough quality, not enough clinical edge to this squad, we just couldn't capitalize on it. It was just chance after chance that just fizzled out. And Palace quickly kind of adjusted. They took control of the game. They were able to get back in numbers. They started pressing us and boxing us in when we did get the ball in advanced positions. And then they looked to hit us quickly when they won the ball, just like we said they would. And they're good at it. They've been doing that to us for years. We're going to talk about the match, of course. Got a little bit of transfer news to go over ahead of time. It's not going to be fun transfer news, so it is what it is. But before we do all that, please like the video. Please subscribe if you are new. Subscribe if you want to get involved today. I did make it subscribers only, but subscribe if you are new. Let's see. And we are going to get stuck in with some transfer news. Let me see what everyone's saying before I dive in. Brighton and Palace have become bogey sides. Yeah, and it's just, what do they have in common? They're energetic, they're physical, and they just get around, and we just don't. And that's, I've said many, many times this season, it doesn't take much to give yourself a good chance of getting a result against us. All you got to do is be a little more physical, a little more energetic, and odds are we're going to shit the bed. Dana B says, Slab is a laughing, another 200 a week next year. What a mule. Yeah, he did not have a great game today. He was winning a lot of aerial duels, but then later on when we started moving that line a little higher, he was just, that's the exact opposite situation that you want Maguire in. We didn't have a choice necessarily, but I think that he could have let the other two defenders kind of handle a higher line, at least in terms of getting the ball back, and he could have stayed back a little bit. But to be honest, that movement from Palace was causing us problems all night. Box says we can't sustain back-to-back performances. Yeah, I know. I've said it how many times now? We just can't. Danny says, Onana should never wear the jersey again. Dallo, don't get me started. Yeah, we're going to go through it. You guys know that we all like to do Box says tricky plan from our side. That's interesting since he plays for Lyon. You mean Lyon, Box? I know he was heavily rumored to be going to Dortmund. I don't know why we haven't been all over that one personally. I think I can't get into that. Teresa, welcome back. Hi all. Sure was hoping for a miracle. Disappointed indeed. Yeah, it was not a good look tonight. But welcome back, Rob. Evening, Rob. Finally watched some highlights. There weren't a lot of highlights. I think you call them lowlights, right? But Danny says, yeah, Maguire in a high line, suicidal. It is very, very suicidal. Box says, "Oh, they're playing Marseille. Interesting. Well, keep us posted on how he's doing if anything pops up. You guys know I am a big fan of Rayon Cherki. I know a couple of you guys are too, and I would love it. Rayon Cherki is exactly what we need in a situation like tonight, where we're up against a little bit of a lot of numbers, low block, and we need something a little creative, a little idea, some sort of creativity to unlock that." Um, Rob says the 3-minute highlights were exciting, but glad I didn't watch the full match live. I was at work. Well, honestly, today I probably would have chosen work over watching that because at least you're getting paid, right? Box says, what are your thoughts on the links with Bailey and Nkunku? Seems a bit last minute. We are going to talk about that right now, Box, because we're going to start off things with a little bit of transfer news before we start getting into this negative realm of despair. So give us a like, subscribe to the channel. Let's jump in. So Fabrizio Romano gave us an update on Tyrell Malacia earlier. Not good news. His loan move to Benfica has definitely collapsed. No agreement on fees, no future option. United are still looking at options for Malacia because it sounds like we do want to maybe get him out, get him some game time like we spoke about yesterday. Doesn't sound like he's very high in the pecking order right now. So there are several loan requests, though. So hopefully we can get that one wrapped up, maybe deadline day. But speaking of transfers being off, Fabrice Hawkins reports this afternoon that negotiations between Bayern and United regarding a deal for Matthias Tell have broken down after we have had 2 offers rejected. Now, we're looking at a loan because right now we cannot afford a flat fee. Bayern want a flat fee. It's interesting because Tell wants to leave. He's already rejected a move to Spurs, even though Spurs and Bayern had agreed on a fee. L'Equipe reports that Bayern, again, they want a sale. We just want a loan to buy option because we don't have the funds right now. We have to bring in another player, though. We just do. I mean, we can't lose Anthony. Anthony's starting for Real Betis right now, by the way. And we can't lose Rashford and not bring in someone else, some sort of leg, some sort of energy, some sort of attacking profile. We just can't, as we saw today. Ben Jacobs, though, to answer your question, Box, says that we could go for Christopher Nkunku before deadline day. Now, we know there was interest there. It was rumored earlier this past week that we were maybe interested in Nkunku. He does play in that position that similar to where Tell would play as well, similar to where someone like Cherki would play, similar to where we were trying to get Rashford Anthony to play. I like Nkunku. Again, my issue with Nkunku is the injuries. When he was at Leipzig, he was absolute class. Like, I wouldn't say world class, but he was class. He was one of the best young attackers in football his last few seasons at Leipzig. The injury has not helped, though, but very frustrating. I want to know what you guys think about the Matthias Tell deal. So the problem with Matthias Tell, though, so if you guys were paying attention, so I recorded a quick little deep dive scouting report video on Matthias Tell last night. I scheduled that to go live really early this morning. It has been a while since I've done a deep dive because it's obviously been a while since transfers. So I did a whole profile on him, his career, his numbers, the profile of player he is, where I see him fitting in, why he's leaving Bayern, all that stuff. So if you missed that, go check it out. It might be moot now, though, because we're not going to be getting it, but still a good look at Matthias Tell because a lot of people have been calling him a striker. A lot of people call him this and stuff. He's not a striker. Go check out the video if you want. Box says, Nkunku before the injury, I'd be all over. Yeah, Nkunku before the injury was, again, just class. But it's like that with a lot of players. It just is what it is. Rob, I wish I did have some positive transfer news. If some of you might think this is positive. So again, according to Fabrizio Romano, Marcus Rashford's medical and the documents have all pretty much been finalized today for his move to Aston Villa, loan to buy. Spoke a little bit about that on that short I did ahead of kickoff. I had some time while I was chilling at Loaded Dice in the parking lot. Did a quick short to respond to the starting 11 news, basically, because it was interesting start 11 I was going to talk about in a few minutes. But the post from Romano saying that Rashford's move to Aston Villa is pretty much done. They're going to pay roughly like 70% of his wages. I think there was an option to buy for like $40 million, which I think is a really, really good deal. I think it's like a 4-year contract. So probably see an announcement on that tomorrow if everything goes through. But some of you might call that positive. I guess I'd call that positive too. Mostly the positive on the Rashford thing is the future fee because that is all profit. We can count that all right up front on the books as far as PSR concerned, and anything we spend is going to be amortized. So even if we spend $40 million, we don't actually spend $40 million on paper. We can amortize that across a number of years. Danny says, what was worse, Wales getting smashed by France or United today? Box says, it is a bit strange Bayern seem to want to sail so quickly. He's only 19. Have they seen something we haven't? And well, we saw, if you watch the Matthias Tell video that went out this morning too, Bayern's sporting director, Max Eberl, that he said they're looking for a deal that suits everybody. That includes Bayern. Financially, Bayern have to look out for their own interests as well. They're not just going to take lowball offers. They want money now. I don't know why. It's not like there's enough time to do anything in the transfer window. So it seems like it would make just as much sense for them to include some sort of a obligation or something. But it's just interesting because you have a player who legitimately wants to leave and you're holding out for a ton of money. So maybe they're upset that he rejected the Spurs move. I don't know. I think the Spurs option was a little higher. I think Spurs offered more money, but it is what it is. Rob says, Nkunku is welcome. We have an experienced medical department. We probably have the most experienced, at the same time, inexperienced medical department in football in terms of just the people coming into but there's like, they don't have a clue what they're doing. It's like a bunch of interns in there who literally can't even put a Band-Aid on a paper cut, let alone handle any of the issues. I mean, they're not good at diagnosing things. They're not good at anticipating when people are going to recover. Remember, they famously told Ten Hag last season, oh yeah, Shaw, Malacia, they'll be fine. We don't have to keep Sergio Reguilon. And then, lo and behold, look what happened. These are the people that are in charge of the fitness at this club, by the way. So hopefully this sports scientist, Sam Arith, that we appointed in the summer on an interim basis, I don't know what he's doing. I like him to do a little bit more. We need to listen to these people when we bring him in as well. Box says, it's going to be strange seeing Rashford at Villa. Seems kind of random. It does seem a little random. You'd think that he would prefer to maybe go. Obviously, he wants to go to Barcelona. You'd think that he would hold out for that, but he wants to play. Villa play a system that suits Rashford's profile, and so on paper and everything, it does seem like a good fit. Obviously, it probably wouldn't be his first choice, but when no one's coming in for you after you publicly kind of kill United's bargaining position in the transfer market, maybe it's a reality check for him. Not a whole lot of clubs were informed. Not a whole lot of clubs want to pay for that. Maybe if he's not willing to take a pay cut, I don't know what to tell you. But Danny says, let's all hope Rashford does well and they buy him. I hope it's like a Sancho thing where there's an obligation, personally, because we just need to know that money is coming in. Agile Beast, welcome back. Dire performance today. Absolutely dire. It's just there's a lot of D's. We got dross, we got depressing, we got dire. Keep it coming. Hit me with the D words here. Box says, I thought Bayern would be phasing Gnabry or Coman out. I thought that for a while too. Gnabry's had some injury issues, so has Coman. But Coman's probably been the better player in the last couple of years. But they have Olise. I feel like I'm always forgetting another wide player that they have at Bayern. I know they have Sane, who looked like he might have been leaving, but it looks like he's staying. But yeah, I thought that the Rashford could have gone to Bayern. I thought that was a match that suited everybody, but it is what it is at that point. Rob says, I'm worried because Marcus has had to travel further to train. He'll be late more often than the loan will be canceled. I mean, is it further from the airports, though, where you can swoop over to America or Belfast or something? Dr. Death, they call him. Box says, I bet Rashford will still be waiting for Barca to call on September deadline day. Yeah. Barcelona are going to have their own shit to figure out because they might not even, after a 3-month emergency kind of approval, temporary approval for Danny Olmo, they still might end up losing him. It's going to be interesting. Agile Beast, we've got the heat-seated massage table beds and keeps regular Shaw and Mount there. I mean, they've got their own seats, their own little spots, their own everything there. I mean, those... I feel like Shaw and Mount are probably more medically like expert than the people we have. It's like when I have 2 dogs, right? My 2 dogs have had nothing but crazy health issues, physical issues. I've spent more time at the vet and the like urgent care vet than I care to admit. But because of that, I've learned so much about veterinary medicine, about dog conditions, about liver this and kidney that, and lower disc this and ACL that. You could ask me anything. Anytime people have issues and I'm like, we got this blood test. And I'm like, what the number is? It ALT? Yeah, that's liver. You need to go get liver. Like, I just know it now. I feel like Shaw and Mount, just by osmosis of being in the medical room so much, they're pretty much experts. Diabolical. Danny, I like it. Keep it coming, you guys. And Danny's a D word. There you go. Disgusting. Oh, we're just keep it coming. I love it. Agile says drab. Nice. I love it. Rob says, sounds like our medical department is running Barcelona's financial department. It's just one. It's like Wayfair. Secret, everything is like, if you look at like Target, Wayfair, all this stuff, it's all the same stuff. It all comes from one giant location. It's just distributed to all these different places. That's pretty much what we're doing. Box says, Anthony makes his debut for, we were talking about that. Rich, welcome, my friend. Poor all around. Yeah, it was not good. It was pretty embarrassing. Rob says, if Anthony starts using his right foot, then something is up. They gave him the 7 surge. You guys see that? He's rocking the 7 shirt at Real Betis right now. Oh, that match has been going on 50 minutes. I swear, if I open FootMob on my phone right now and see Anthony with a goal and assist, I'm throwing this phone across the room. Oh, they've scored. Isco. Oh, I forgot they've got Isco. I forgot. Anthony's starting on the right tonight. Interesting. But big up, Rich. Good to see you. Dyer. Oh, we already got Dyer. Now you're repeating. Are we running out? So, starting 11 thoughts. Let me know you guys' thoughts on the starting 11 thoughts in the chat. Because I did do that short video. Again, that was my first time doing YouTube shorts, so bear with me on that one. But what were your thoughts on the team selection on the night? Because I've got some thoughts, but we're going to talk a little bit more about it later on. But, no strikers was a very odd decision, I thought, from Ruben Amorim. Mazraoui at right wing back. I don't like him at right wing back. I'm having a hard time seeing how Mazraoui fits in this side right now, at least in this system, because he's not a right wing back. You could say his better position is probably right center back, but does that mean that he's good there? Or does that just mean he's better there than right wing back? Because it's not necessarily. Does Mazraoui have a good position in this team? Agile says, what? He's on the number 7 shirt. Anthony is taking the piss. I read that earlier online. Yeah, he's rocking the 7 shirt. That's so funny. I don't know if you guys can see that. Do you see it down there? The 7, Anthony. He's the. It's funny. Box says Anthony 1-0. Anthony shot saved and Isco scores the rebound. Anthony redemption arc. Yikes. Oh man, this is becoming another thing altogether. We lost Sancho, and everyone's going to give a shit when he scores. We get rid of Rashford, everyone's going to give a shit when he scores, and we loaned out Anthony. Everyone's going to give a shit when he scores. Rich, feeling a bit deflated after today's match. Yep, deflated. That's another D word. There we go. I like it. Yeah, we all are feeling. It's just I'm pushing past. We've gone past the anger, the bargaining. I'm almost past the acceptance. Now I'm just. It's what we call incongruent affect. It's in my business. And what it means is that the way you're feeling and the way you're presenting are almost opposite. So I'm feeling deflated, but I'm presenting as jovial and joking around. Like it doesn't match up with what I'm feeling. So we saw that incongruent affect. Then he says, why would Amorim play Dallo and Maz at wingback again if it clearly isn't working for him? Yeah, we don't really have any options, I guess. I have no idea. I don't know why Ahmad didn't start there. I don't get it a lot. We're going to talk about team selection personally. It just doesn't make sense. Agile says Maz right center back all day long. Yeah, I feel like he might have done a little better with some of the situations that we found ourselves in, but it was clear that they were exploiting the Maguire a little bit, making a lot of those little runs because they knew that Maguire didn't have the recovery pace on those kind of things. So Rob says, have Palace overtaken us? Yep, they have. They leapfrogged us today, so we're now back to 13th. So we're going to look at some numbers here. So if you guys aren't numbers people, just turn away because the numbers do not make for good reading. 67 possession we had on the night, 67% of the ball, 17 shots, 12 shots from inside the box. We had 11 corners. They didn't have any corners, by the way. 0 corners for Palace, 11 for us. We had 59 touches in Palace's box and absolutely fuck all to show for it on the night. Literally one big chance we created, 2 shots on target from all of that possession. And just like against FCSB, we had more than twice as many passes as Palace did on the night. We just did absolutely nothing with the ball. This was like harking back to Louis van Gaal days where he's going on and on about how much possession we have. It doesn't matter. You're not doing anything with it. And individually, it was not great either. Garnacho, starting in that 10 role again, 1 out of 4 dribbles completed, dispossessed 3 times, 3 shots, none on target, 1 out of 7 duels won for Garnacho, and only 2 passes into the final third. Not good on the ball. Menu, only 15 passes attempted, 12 passes completed on the night. So not really getting on the ball. Kabi Menu created 1 chance, completed no dribbles out of 4 attempts. 3 out of 12 duels he won. 3 out of 12, literally a quarter of his duels, and only 1 out of 2 tackles. Like, again, youngster, what is he going to do in that situation? Ahmad was the best of the front 3, but he can't do it alone. And even then, it wasn't like he had a stellar game. He did create the most chances on the night with 6. He did complete 2 out of 2 dribbles. Really good cross accuracy, but again, he wasn't physical enough. He lost less than half of his. He won less than half of his duels, 4 out of 9. It just wasn't working. You have 3 young, diminutive, we'll call it. There's another D word. It's just a fancy word for short. Smaller players leading the front 3. They're not winning that physical battle. They can't hold on to the ball, and they're losing so many of their duels. Dallo, equally as bad on the night. 5 of 14 duels for Dallo. Let me get closer to the mic. 5 of 14 duels for Dallo. 1 out of 3 dribbles. 1 out of 3 long balls. 2 out of 2 crosses. So he had a good cross. He created that. He put a really good ball in for Højlund that Højlund got a header on. It just was right at the keeper. As were most. I think Bruno had another attempt that was right at the keeper. Mazraoui, again, as we're saying in the chat, Mazraoui can't play wing back. He just can't. He had decent defensive numbers on the night, but he created absolutely nothing going forward. Bruno, absolutely atrocious on the ball tonight. He completed 0 dribbles, 2 of 13 crosses Bruno completed, 7 of 13 long balls, so only like 50% long balls. His corner delivery is awful. He did manage to create 2 chances, but that's nothing. That's absolutely nothing. Danny says he's got the option playing Ahmad. He does. He switched it up again, but this is the problem, is like too often he's having to correct the decisions that he makes as far as team selection. We saw it against FCSB. We saw it again tonight as well, which tells me that he's making mistakes. His team selection has not been good. It seems like he's almost taken a step backwards in terms of his team selection. We thought he was starting to get an idea of his core 11, and then he kind of had a knee-jerk reaction to some, woeful performances from our strikers. And then he's realized, like, oh, wait, maybe I need a striker. I can't just do this by myself. Teresa, Amorim was livid at the press conferences. I haven't watched the press conference. I've read the press conference, and we'll go through a little bit of it a little later on, but I can't watch some of that right now. Bach says, we couldn't blame Højlund or Zirk for their poor finishing in the first 60. No, you couldn't, because we're not doing enough to get the ball in the box. When you've got Dallo, who, he's making crosses, but he's not really doing anything. When you got Bruno, who's only putting in 2 of 13, and you've got 10s like Garnacho, Menu, whatever, who aren't winning their 1v1s, we're not getting the ball in the box. Today, we actually got the ball in the box, but the one time we were getting into the box, we had no strikers on the pitch. We had several opportunities where there was a good ball put in from Garnacho, and there was nobody there to put it away because no strikers on the pitch. Nobody in the positions where a striker would normally be. Rob Taff, 0 corners, and our defense still couldn't cope with a crossball. Yeah, and it was a set piece, unfortunately. Danny says Dallo needs to go in the summer. Yeah, I think a lot of players are going to need to go in the summer, quite frankly. The question is, not only will we get rid of some of these, this deadwood, will we replace them? Or is it going to be another case of too little too late? Box says, could have started Collier, Ahmad to right wing back, Bruno to 10. Yeah, we could have done a lot of things. And it's one of those things where, and I think that's a good plan. Bruno in the deep pivot, I don't like, because he's just not been good enough on the ball from that position. He just hasn't. He's not press resistant. He's not physical. He's not disciplined enough. If you look at Bruno's heat map on the night, everyone else's heat map, you can kind of tell where they play just by looking at the heat map. Bruno's is all over the place. Both sides, both halves of the pitch, centrally. I'm not complaining about him overall. It's just he needs he's not good in this deep position. I don't like him there. It worked, but that's a concern for me. It worked against FCSB, cool. We're not going to play FCSB every week. We're not in the Romanian league. It's not going to. You need to have a different plan for these games. Rob says, saw an after-game interview on BBC with Amorim. He looked shaken and trying to control himself, very frustrated. I'm sure he's very frustrated. I'm sure I would be frustrated too if I'm losing a bunch of players and I'm waiting until day before deadline day to bring in players, and the players I have are garbage, and financially, there's no way we're going to do anything. Ruben has said this in the last 2 or 3 pressers that we have to avoid the same mistakes in the transfer window that got us here. So he says it's not just getting whoever's there, it has to make sense, basically. Teresa says, I watched the player arrival at Old Trafford. Only 2 stopped for the fans, and so did Amorim. Karma is a very entitled. I would guess that the players that stopped, I would assume that one of them is Dallo, because Dallo does tend to stop and talk to everybody. Maybe Bruno. I know Bruno tends to stop and talk to everybody as well, but Dallo usually is pretty good about stopping and talking to everybody he can. Edjo says, Maguire is all over the place when he's not camped inside the 18-yard line. Yeah, and this is what we said. In a high line, playing out from the back, Maguire's not the guy. Tell him to sit in the box. Tell him to keep everything from coming in the box. Maguire's fine. He won so many aerial duels today, but it's just not good enough. Again, Ugarte does what Ugarte does, winning ground duels, winning tackles, but he was far less adventurous with his passes when he got the ball. In the last couple of games, he's had some good through balls. He's had some good long balls. He's had a lot of passes in the final third. Today, he wasn't doing that as much, which could have hurt us a little bit. I think maybe we could have needed a little bit more from that for him, but I want Ugarte to win the ball and find a teammate. I don't need him to split the lines with a pass. I don't need him to thread the needle. I want him to win the ball, win that physical battle. That's all I want Ugarte to do. If he does nothing else, that's all I want him to do. But the pivot overall, especially with Bruno there, it just leaves way too much gaps. And again, because Bruno's not a 6, he's not really good in that deep pivot role. He roams too much. He's not physical. He's not press resistant. He has the footballing IQ to know where things are going to be, but he doesn't have the defensive IQ and the speed to be where it needs to be. Because this pivot leaves way too much open space for our opposition to find each other. I mean, one pass from inside Palace's half gets into our third like that over and over and over again. It's way too easy. Too frequently they were able to cut us open, find an open man completely. There was one spot, the second half. Eze is literally about 5, maybe 10 yards outside of our box. Literally no United player within 10, 15 yards of him, and the ball just finds him. And he's got nothing but time and space on the ball to turn and pretty much do whatever he wants with it. It's unforgivable, that sort of defending. It's ridiculous. Rob says, I'm worried Amorim won't move the Portuguese players on. Can't fault Bruno's effort, but he needs to stick to position. Dallo has been poor. I mean, people are going to get moved on if they're not good enough. I mean, there are a lot of people who never would have thought that Rashford would get moved on, but let alone be dropped, and that's what happened. We'll see. We're going to see what happens. It's a matter of backing the manager at this point. Box says Garnacho probably hiding from certain YouTubers when arriving. I mean, yeah, we all remember that. We don't need to. I'm not going to get too much. We've already spoken about that, but I know who you're talking about. I've met who you're talking about, and when I met him, he was a super nice guy. To me, it seemed like he's chosen to take on the negative, grumpy United fan persona, and it just doesn't work for me personally. It just doesn't seem genuine to me. Box says Ugarte getting a yellow card is a safe bet. Easy money, yeah. If you want to put some money down, go for it. Teresa says, I wonder what Patrick and Hayden were thinking watching the game. Probably, hoping that this was one of those TV episodes from the 90s where you wake up at the end and realize it was all a bad dream. Maybe it was like a It's a Wonderful Life moment where they just realize, okay, it was a dream. It was a bad nightmare. It's all good. Danny says, Manu, maybe Collier, only press-resistant CMs you have. Yeah, we need help in midfield for sure. I want a Hayden Hackney. I want someone of that ilk. Get it, Angel Gomez, someone who's able to just create space for himself, someone who's able to drop deep, receive the ball, start an attack. Your Vitinhas, your prime Frenkie de Jong, your João Gomez's, these guys. We need people like that. Bruno can't do it because he's not press resistant and he's not fast enough. He's not physical. Danny says that guy personality totally changed within 12 months. Really weird. Yeah, it was really weird because, like I said, Faz was super. I just said his name, didn't mean to. But he was super, super nice when I met him ahead of the Southampton match a few years back. Because he usually is outside the player's entrance. I don't know what happened. It is, I think, maybe the rise of just social media in general, YouTube in general. Maybe that's just it's causing more and more people to have to carve out some sort of unique niche, and sometimes that means some people want to be negative, kind of like Gabby Agbanlahor on Talksport. He doesn't actually feel the way he feels about a lot of United related stuff. He does it because it just gets more clicks and more views and more listeners to be that negative. So Box says, when you think about it, we could probably do with about 12 ins. You think about it, we could definitely do about 15, 16 ins, man. Box says, if we want a proper rebuild, yeah, we need to get a proper rebuild. We need to start. It's going to take time, though. Rob says, he tried to be controversial on United Stand and they moved him on. Remember when he was talking about Kemp Wallace, said, I like Big Willie. Yeah, I remember that when he was on United Stand for a while. Defensively, it wasn't much better. There was just a lack of communication, lack of leadership in that back line. We were getting done left and right by Palace's runs, movement time and time again. Leach's numbers were good until he got that injury. Maguire, again, was winning his aerial duels, but again, like I've said many times, there's a reason Maguire's not winning not wearing the captain's armband anymore. It has nothing to do with ability. It has to do with mentality. Because he's just not a leader. He just doesn't take initiative on the pitch. He doesn't have the mentality to instruct, to delegate, to communicate, take charge in a variety of these situations, whether in attack or defense. There was a set piece late on where we won a set piece. He tried to, and what he does on these set pieces, he tries to get to the back post, head it back across goal. And he did that again, but again, what I pointed out watching the Loaded Dice is that anytime Maguire wins a header, there's a reason he doesn't score headers and there's a reason he struggles to clear the danger when we're defending set pieces, because Maguire, when he's jumping to clear these things, to get on the end of these, he's always jumping on the back foot. There's zero power. There's zero attacking initiative to go and win that ball, to go and make something happen. It's always just waiting for the situation to happen. He generates no power. He doesn't look in control at all because he's always on the back foot. And that's weak mentality. That's what he always does. Euro quietly had good numbers, but I hesitate to say he had like a good game, because 2-0 down, if as a defender, no one had a good game. He did win 1 out of 1 tackles, 2 out of 3 duels. He completed 4 out of 4 long balls, and he had the best pass completion on the night with 95% pass completion. But again, it's hard to praise too much when we lose 2-0 at home. Onana was poor on the ball, 3 out of 10 long balls. And quite frankly, my biggest complaint with Onana is just how petrified he looks and how uncomfortable he looks coming off his line. The guy knows he can come off his line, right? It's not foosball where you're literally just side to side on a line. Like, you can come out, you can use your hands, you can do whatever you need to do to get on the end of that. You've got a whole box that only you can jump and use your hands. You can get at least 3 feet higher than everyone else by using your hands, and he never looks comfortable doing it. And he still has no communication with his defenders. There was another instance where we were defending, the ball comes flashing around across our box, and Dallo should have done something, Onana should have done something. Both of them are not communicative, and thankfully the ball just goes out for a goal kick. But where was the communication? Where was the leadership in that moment to take charge and handle that situation? That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Let's see what you guys are saying. Rob says, any news on the injury? Not heard anything. We're probably not going to hear much. It's only been a couple hours. It does take time, but we will hopefully get an update tomorrow. It does not look good, though. Bach says it thought it must be an ACL. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about that injury too, but it did not look good. RSV, big up, man. Also, for the people who keep saying that we haven't improved, then you have no clue, because he is responsible for the mess that United are in. He signed all these deadwood. I mean, it's easy to try to point the finger of blame when we're in the middle of the shit, right? I think it's in human nature to want to find something to blame. It is what it is. I'm not gonna kick Ten Hag anymore because he's gone now, but I do agree that some of the players we brought in under Ten Hag just not great. The Mount situation was a big weird one for me. Rich says, yeah, it looked bad. Danny says, Leach may never be the same. Yeah, I do worry about that, and we're going to talk about that. But he did not look good. If you guys saw, I mean, it was within seconds. He was already signaling for the switch coming off from the stretcher. You could see he was crying. He was broken. Rob says, think Heaven could get minutes at left center back against Leicester. Remember, Lindelof is back now. I don't think Evans is fit. We got Euro, DeLitt, Lindelof, Maguire, Heaven as well. Boxes. Wasn't Onana shortlisted for Ballon d'Or in 2022? What's happened to this guy? I think the pressure of Old Trafford is happening to this guy, and I do think that Onana does not have a very strong mentality, very strong resilience, because every time he makes a mistake, you can tell he carries it with him the rest of the match. He's not able to get over it. Danny says, I wouldn't feed him to the wolves, Rob. Could kill his confidence. Yeah. Box says, Onana's so flat-footed. Yeah, he just doesn't want to ever come off his line. He is not comfortable in that situation. And you guys know that's, aside from shot stopping, that's like my biggest preference in a keeper is you have to command your box. You have to come out and make that box your own. Otherwise, it's like getting bullied in school. Like if you go in and you just let yourself get bullied. I'm not saying go start a fight. I'm just saying there's a way to respond to bullies, right? But if you just keep running away, you're always going to be running. If Onana just keeps letting the intimidation of all the activity in front of him in the box, if he keeps letting that get to him, he's never going to get over it. He's got to come out. And I know he might get a mistake. He might even concede a penalty or whatever. But you have to learn to be more comfortable with that situation. The only way you're going to learn is to do it. And he's got to do better at that. He just has to. Rob says, typical United luck. Shaw vacates the medical bed and another player needs it. Oh, yeah, Shaw's back. He could take over as well, I guess, in that left center back role. No, he won't. He'll last 30 minutes and he'll go off injured. Rob says, Onana seems to be spaced out at times. Concentration levels poor. We need a new number one. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later on in the season. We'll probably do a summer signing show as well to see what we think United need. I'll probably have my own picks as well. So usually it's like 5 positions and 5 players that we look at. Box says Jones, Bailly, Martial, Shaw, Mount, and now Leach looks injury prone. Don't forget Varane as well. And yeah, like Danny says, Harrison was on the bench today. Yeah, big up Eli Harrison joining the first team today for the bench. That was good times. Teresa says they have a week to train with new players. Let's see how they do next match. Hopefully they pay attention. It is an FA Cup match. I wouldn't be surprised to see Dorgu at least maybe get a start because we just got to try something different, honestly. Box says, yeah, I saw Harrison next to Binder on the subs bench. Yeah. So what does Amorim had to say? So he was asked a little bit about Kobbie Mainoo. He was asked, Ruben, the team haven't scored in 9 games, still minus goal differential. 2 strikers are on the bench today. Do you feel let down by the hierarchy here that they've not brought in a goal scorer yet? Amorim said, no, things are not like that. Today we chose to play with Kobbie because of the characteristics of Kobbie. It's nothing against Rasmus or Josh. And sometimes the team scores goals by creating situations to use the right characteristics. It doesn't mean if you play with 2 strikers, you're going to score more goals. See, that right there, I automatically call bullshit because if that's how you feel, if you have 2 strikers, it doesn't mean you're going to score more goals. Why did you bring both your strikers on later on in the second half then? What was the goal there? Like, I'm so frustrated right now with Ruben Amorim, and really, really am. He says it's not about strikers, but when you play a teenage midfielder up front instead of your 2 strikers, it's a little bit about the strikers. Let's be honest. Is this a sign that he doesn't trust them? Is it a sign that he maybe is showing, like we've seen other managers do this, where they will intentionally do this in an effort to push and show the owners that we need different players. Just bring me Gyökeres in the summer, or bring me Jonathan David on a cheap or even a free. Like, just do it. It doesn't make sense to me. But Rob says bring back Casemiro and Evans. I think Evans is still injured, right? Box says, yeah, leading. It is leading questions from the press. Hold on, my light's messing up. There we go. Okay, that didn't fix it, did it? All right. What else does Amorim had to say? Let's jump in here. Amorim said the result is really bad. The performance was a little better than the last games. I think we controlled better the game, the momentum, how to attack, and when to attack. Oh, this is from Bruno. Bruno had some thoughts too. Bruno says we lacked a little bit of aggression to get into the final third and try something to score goals. We need the players we have in front to get more goals, to create more, and we need to be able to take players on to get goals from that. Like, I agree, but at the same time, like, oops, what just happened here? Hold on. Wrong button. There we go. I don't like this. This new computer sometimes is so sensitive on the mouse. What are you guys' thoughts on what Amorim had to say about Cobby playing? It's not about the strikers. Having more strikers doesn't necessarily mean more goals. What do you think about Amorim's thoughts that the performance was better this time? I don't know if I agree with that. The performance, to me, looked a lot worse. This light. Oops, there we go. I need to jimmy that little cord. Sometimes when the cord on these ring lights is just a little loose, it'll start to flicker a little bit. I must have kicked it or something. And then what do you think about Bruno's thoughts that, the performance wasn't good, but he's basically calling out the players up front, saying that they need to do more. We need to create more. Bach says Højlund and Xerxes both look nervy when they came on. I mean, they came on in the middle of a battle, basically. A battle that we were pretty much losing, unfortunately. I don't know what. And this is the thing. Amorim is out here saying, like, just bringing on two strikers doesn't mean you're going to score more goals. Well, why did you bring them on then? What was the point? It doesn't make sense to me. Bach says first 10 minutes was great. Next 80 poor. Yeah, we started well. We just did not end well at all. Those are Amorim's thoughts. Those are Bruno's thoughts. Here are some of my thoughts. Don't forget to hit that like button if you haven't yet. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new, because I want to hear your thoughts as well. Starting with mine, number one, team selection backfired. So we kind of hinted at this a little bit already, but it was a big call leaving both strikers on the bench and starting with a front three of Garnacho, Ahmad, and Mainu, personally for me. And you guys saw that in that short that I put out before the match. It's one of those decisions as a manager that's either extremely brilliant or extremely stupid, and you're only going to know which is which after the match starts and you see how things are playing out. In this case, it was the latter. I thought that leaving the responsibility for the pressing, for the creating, for the goal scoring to three youngsters was a big, big decision from Ruben Amorim and a big demand on the players. It just didn't pay off. They were bullied left and right, as we saw from some of those 1v1 numbers. Mainu isn't a striker, so anticipating him getting into those positions that really a number 9 naturally is going to be in, that's a big ask. It just seemed in case of Mainu, it just seemed a case of one of those things where it's like, well, it worked in the 10 before. Maybe I'm onto something. Let's try it again. If that's the case, though, I don't get why you did that with Mainu when you didn't start Bayindir over Onana, because Bayindir's had good matches recently, too. So, again, something's not right there. To make things worse, too, like I said, Amorim brought on Xerxes and Højlund in the 70th minute to try to get something, but we were already down a goal at that point, and we just couldn't do anything with the ball. So it was another exercise in futility. Everyone who was calling for Højlund and Xerxes to be dropped in the last few weeks, and I actually put a poll on Twitter ahead of this live stream, to ask if Ruben Amorim was right to drop them both. And last time I checked, mostly everybody said it was the right call. Let me go check it again and see what the latest numbers are. So, yeah, 15 votes, 66% said yes, 33% said no. So a lot of people in favor of Amorim doing that. But the problem is that we started creating more in the first half, but the chances that we're creating were the kind of chances that you need strikers. You need number 9s who are in those positions to get on the end of. And without a number 9 on the pitch, nobody was there to put those away. Those chances were falling to nobody. We just didn't have players who were used to getting into those positions. When you make a big call and then you have to remedy that call in the match, it usually means it was the wrong call. We've seen Amorim do this a couple times. There was a match, I want to say like a month ago or so, where he made some changes at halftime, switched Bruno and somebody else around, and then like 5-10 minutes later, immediately changed that and brought on another sub. Like, those are the kind of decisions I'm talking about. It just seems like more and more experimentation, more and more of not quite having the best 11 decided, not quite getting a team selection right. And it, again, like I said early on, it does seem like a step backwards in that regard. I'm not calling for Amorim to be sacked or anything like that. I have to call it out when I see it, and he has to take responsibility for the team selection today, because I thought he got it wrong. He's got to stop experimenting, quite frankly. Rob says, I can see what he was trying to do with the front three, confuse Palace center backs, more movement, linking, pity Mainu hit the post. Yeah, I think that, again, if I feel like if a, and it's we're never gonna know, but I feel like with the chances that like Garnacho was flashing across goal and one, I think I would rather have someone like Højlund or Xerxes in that situation than relying on Manu to be in a number 9 position. Boxes. Apparently 4 games in a row we've failed to score versus Palace. Shocking. We have not. They've got our number for sure in the last couple of years. Teresa says Manu is better at holding up the ball. Perhaps this is the reason. But he wasn't. He was losing duels left and right today. Unfortunately, he wasn't even getting on the ball today. He only completed 12 passes, unfortunately. So, and again, he's literally been playing first team football for just over a year now. Kobe Manu. He's still a teenager. He's small. Garnacho is the same way. Ahmad, you can argue, is the same way. That's a lot to ask to go up against experienced defenders, especially when you're up against a back five like that. So, but I did think that the team selection was just not good. Again, it's not me calling for anyone's head. It's just I have to call it like I see it, and today that's how I saw it. So, but you guys let me know your thoughts on the team selection. I'm going to go on to my second point here. Second point, clueless all over the place. We just didn't have any answers for unlocking Crystal Palace today. It was just get the ball into good positions, and then we just didn't know what to do with it. It's kind of like there was a time where there was a squirrel in my yard, in the middle of the yard, and both my dogs got out there, and both my dogs got up to it, but they didn't hurt it or anything. But that's the point. Once they got to that position, they didn't know what to do with what they had. This is kind of what it felt like sometimes. We were getting the ball into the box. Again, you guys saw those numbers, like almost 60 touches in Palace's box. We didn't know what to do with it. There was a chance that fell to Bruno, a simple layoff from Ahmad, and all Bruno had to do was just put the side of his right foot through it. But he took another touch, and then we passed it around. The opportunities left. It was so many of those kind of situations where just somebody pull the trigger. I don't care who it is at this point. Ahmad, instead of doing about 3 Cruyff turns in the box, maybe just pick a cross, flash it back to somebody, take a shot even. I don't care. Too many situations, too many times where we're just too hesitant and too slow to make that final decision. If Bruno isn't picking a worldie pass or Ahmad isn't producing magic, we're just not a threat right now. We have no clue what to do. And even those two, they're not consistent. They can only deliver in these rare moments. And they can't do it on their own. We can't rely on moments of magic to dig us out of trouble. No one seems to know what to do in the final third. No one needs to know where to do, when to do, how to do it. And it's not even just a lack of ideas in attack. Today, from midfield beyond, it was still just disjointed, like you said. Midfield, way too open. Mazraoui, Dalot were constantly kind of getting involved in kind of taking up the same positions as some of the forward players were, and getting in each other's way at times, I thought. No communication between Onana and his defense. It nearly cost us a goal at one point because no one paying attention for that rebounded goal cost us on that one. Maguire wasn't alive to the fact that the ball was coming right off the bar, and then, Mateta doing what he needs to do, just following the play and putting it away. Maguire isn't holding the line to play them offside for their second goal. So again, where's the communication? The football IQ and the mentality of this squad is literally on the floor. And you can't teach that. The only way to improve it is in the transfer market, which ends tomorrow, unfortunately for us. We need to back the manager in some way, shape, or form. I get that the PSR, we can't spend money right now. We have to pretty much do a loan because of PSR, but it's not working with the players that we have. A lot of them, we need better players. Rob says, I think Amorim is still learning. Premier League isn't the Portuguese league. I think it'll come good in the end, but he has to be adaptable in the long run. I think he's got to stop experimenting, in my opinion. It seemed like we got to a good run where we were starting to figure out what the good players are, what is best. And then it just seemed like he was being a little bit reactionary with what he saw from Manu or Garnacho in a match. And I get it. I've said it before. You want to reward people who play well, but at the same time, if you're going to say that about Manu, why not buy him, dear? It just doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't seem like it's consistent. Danny says Onana needs to be dropped. Dalot too. Yeah, if Dalot had any fears of his spot being taken by Dorgu, he did not do himself any favors today, because today was another atrocious showing from him. Amorim doesn't really have a starting 11. He likes players to be versatile, and selection depends on the other team in which players can apply his skills. And to a degree, I think you're right. I think that in a situation like this where you're not going to have the players you want, financially it's just not going to happen, and you have to work with what you have. I think you put yourself in the best position by playing the players you have in their best positions and not tinkering so much unnecessarily. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a little bit nitpicky. I just feel like it was working, and then he made some tweaks like moving Manu to a 10, and it worked against FCSB, but the Premier League is not FCSB. We're not going to be playing Europa League every single week. You have to put yourself in the best position to get a result, and I just feel like tonight it wasn't. Not playing a 9 at all is just not working for me. Danny says he realizes working with poop. Yeah, poopy. He's working with poopy. To quote Jamie Tart, any Ted Lasso fans out there, I should go watch that again. You know what? I started watching again, and this is how you know that I when I like a show and I watch it like 4 or 5 times, like MASH or like Sons of Anarchy. I started watching Daredevil again on Disney because I know they're coming out with another season on Disney Plus. And if you guys are Marvel people, everybody's got their preferences, but I think of the TV shows, I like Daredevil the most. But I could watch Daredevil all the time. It's such a good one. Danny says he knows Dallo Maz at wingback doesn't work. If he knows, he's not showing me anything because he keeps persisting with it. I don't understand why. Because Mazraoui and Dallo in the wingbacks really just makes us a back 5, not a back 3, and that's why I would not be shocked at all if Mazraoui is gone in the summer as well, because I just don't think he fits in this system. There's a reason we're looking at all these wingbacks. It's because I don't think we have anybody who can play it. So, moving on to my third point. Really digging this back and forth, you guys. Keep getting involved. Leach's injury is a worry. Like I said, you could tell immediately that it was bad. It just was. Just looking at the way Leach's knee sort of locked and buckled on that odd step, even watching it in real time, you could tell it was bad. And Leach knew it right away. Like I said, he immediately signaled. And if that wasn't enough to let you know how bad it was, again, the emotion that he showed while he was being stretchered off was really the big sign that he could be out of action for a while. I'm praying it's not another ACL issue. I'm praying maybe it's just a hyperextension. He did look, I couldn't tell if he was just in pain with the emotion or if he was just really worried. It's hard not to be anxious and worried in that situation, especially considering some of the knee issues that he's had. This one's worrying, though. I'm really hoping that the stretcher was just a precaution, that he wasn't just doing it because he couldn't walk. Because if he couldn't walk on it, like it was too painful to walk, that to me is cruciate stuff. But we're probably not going to know anything till tomorrow. He does have our thoughts and does have our prayers and our well wishes, of course. But this latest injury to our butcher is a big problem for us. Big problem for him. Like Danny said, I don't know if he recovers from this. And it's a big problem for Ruben Amorim because we've talked many times about how in this system, Leach is probably the best defender that we have, most suited because of what he can do on the ball. He's one of the only defenders we have who can pick those passes, who can make those line-breaking passes. He's the only defender we have who can create space for himself on the ball, who's press-resistant. And his mentality on the pitch, off the pitch, like that has been so vital for us. And quite frankly, he's been our best number 9 in recent weeks too. It's freaking frustrating. His absence is going to sting. We're going to feel that absence because we have no one in the back line who can do what he does. We barely have anybody in the team that can do what he does from a lot of things. I think that we'll see, but I wouldn't get my hopes up that he'll be back anytime before the end of the season. Personally, I think his season is done because even if, let's say, even best case scenario, it's hyperextension. That's several weeks, and then he's got to recover a little bit and get back up to match fitness. I mean, you're looking at maybe at least a month and a half to 2 months, best case scenario. If it was a groin, that's automatically like maybe 6, 7, 8 weeks out, and then you got recovery time. Like, I think it's pretty much safe to say Leach's season is done, unfortunately. Teresa says Diego Leon will be here soon, not soon enough, but something to look forward to. Yeah, he'll be here in the summer. He'll be 18 then, so we'll see if that means he's ready for the first team. We know that Aiden Heaven is first team ready. Not only did he get the number 26, so he ain't getting one of these like 58, 60, 70 numbers. He got the 26, and Jason Wilcock confirmed he's ready for the first team. Box says, doesn't look good for Leach long term. It does not look good. if it's I can't remember what knee it was that he hurt before. Remember when Sufal fell on his knee? Was that last season or the season before? I can't remember if that was the left one or the right one. If it's the same knee though, then I mean, there's only so much punishment one knee can take. And fortunately, in a sport that is just running and pivoting and stopping and pushing off and jumping and landing and kicking and all this, basically just leg, you're going to put more and more wear and tear on your legs than you are in any walk of life. This is why athletes pick up the injuries that they do, because in any other job, you don't put yourself through those situations. It's going to happen. But Rob says hoping he'll be back. He'll be okay. Doesn't look good. And he says only one created anything lately. Yeah, exactly. I mean, Leach has been our guy for the last couple of games. When is Mason back? I mean, I feel like that's a rhetorical question. It's just, I feel like that could be the title of some old folk song from like the 60s. When is Mason back? Diddly-dee. I don't know. I really don't know. Haven't heard anything on Mason. I think he's training on grass. I don't know if he's part of team training yet. And we know Luke Shaw is back in team training, but it's probably still going to be a couple weeks before Shaw's first team ready. Rob says Mason is hogging the number 7 shirt. Not sure who should wear it though. I said yesterday that if Mason leaves and we need to vacate the 7 shirt for at least a year. At least, I don't think anybody at the squad should have it for a year. No new signing should get it right away. That's just plain and simple. Give it to somebody else. But some people, it has to be earned at this point. I'm not all about just giving it out. Buck says, I'd ban this, until we track top 10. Nobody gets it, right? This is why I scoff. Like this morning, you'll also see some stuff. Danny will say Spinios, Ahmad is your player of the month. No offense to Ahmad, I don't care. I really don't care right now. I don't care about winning team in training. I don't care about goal of the month. I don't care about player of the month. I don't care about any of that right now. Nobody should be celebrating anything. And you can call me, a Glazer 2.0 or a Sir Jim 2.0 because they canceled this and that. I'm sorry, but when we have a shit season like we had last year, nobody should get an awards dinner. If we have a shit season like we're having, I don't care about player of the month. I don't care about this. I don't care. Nobody should. It's a team game. If players are going to sit here and focus on individual accolades when the whole team and them as a part of it is in the gutter right now, then that's a problem. That's a mentality thing because I don't care. Danny says last season, yeah. How long is a piece of string? Teresa says United Standard reporting tell transfer deal is off. Yeah, we talked a little bit about some transfer news earlier that was coming for Breeds Hawkins. We had a couple of offers rejected by Bayern. Bayern want a sale. We can only afford a loan. So we'll see if that one is for sure off. Give Onana the 7, says Box. Oh no, Box. Happy hour start a little early wherever you live today, Box. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? So like one of you guys said earlier, aside from a 4 or 5 minute spell in the first half where we were keeping the pressure on, we had corner after corner and stuff. We were kind of tightening the screw. We looked like for that spell, maybe we could create something. Aside from that little bit, it was just too timid, too hesitant, too lackluster, lacking any sort of ideas, any sort of bravery, any sort of creativity. We just weren't able to unlock them. Again, Palace they were more physical, more energetic, more clinical. But we've seen that story play out time and time again this season. And unfortunately, this loss allowed them to leapfrog over us. So they're in 12th. We're now in 13th. We are just 2 points ahead of Spurs now, who somehow are still below us despite winning 2-0 at Brentford today. This is our 7th home loss of the season, which is the worst we've played at home since the 19th century. The 19th century. This is the worst home form we've had in over 120 years. Only 4 shots on target in our last 3 games in the Premier League combined. So that's fucking awesome. And as it was pointed out in the presser, only 4 teams in the league have scored fewer goals than us this season. Again, where are these goals coming from? We're not getting the ball forward enough. We're not putting the ball in the box enough. And yeah, our strikers probably are a little too young and probably not quite there yet, and maybe not good enough. I don't know. Time will tell to put these chances away, but it's not good enough from anybody, no matter who's taking the shots. Like I said, Leach has been our best number 9 in recent weeks. That says about everybody else. Ahmad has his dangerous moments, but he still has some flaws in his game he's got to iron out, and he can't do it on his own. It's just not good enough. We have Leicester in the FA Cup on Friday. Honestly, I can't even say right now, if you ask me right now, that I'm certain that we're going to get anything from that game, because I just don't think we might. But look out for the preview on that, probably Wednesday. I'm going to be busy all day Thursday. I've got my PFA class that starts at 6 a.m. for me, and it goes till like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. It's a long one, so that'll be fun. Let me see what you guys are saying. Danny says we need a CM. I don't know why we can't put in a little cheeky lowball offer for Angel Gomez. I don't know why we couldn't do the same for Jonathan David. Olivier Bichali will be free in the summer. I can't even right now. It's really annoying. Box giving us an update on Anthony Watch. Betis up 2-1. Lyon 1-0 up. Turkey assist. Of course Turkey got the assist because Turkey's class. Danny says 2 wingback, striker, keeper, and a CB. Everybody's pushing for keepers now. So keep that in mind, because once this transfer window closes, obviously we're all going to be looking ahead to the next transfer window. And I'll probably end up doing another couple videos on, positions that I'd like us to target, maybe look at some signings, some targets, maybe some bargains to see what we can do. There's going to be a lot of people available for free this summer, so keep a lookout for that. Like I just named a couple right now: Angel Gomez, Olivier Bichali, Jonathan David. I've done bargain videos. We could be looking at teams who are set for relegation. We already did a video on that as well. Go check that one out. Danny thinks Leicester are going to beat us. They could very well. All they got to do is be a little physical, and we know that we're really vulnerable right now in defense. Danny says Angel Gomez is injured. He's injured again. He was just playing the other day. I know he was injured for a minute. Did he get injured again? If he's injured again, then that might be it for me on Angel Gomez. I might be cooling on that. Let me find this. Angel Gomez. He played 45 minutes against Saint Etienne just yesterday, Danny. Did he come up? Oh, fuck off. He got injured again. Son of a bitch. Hold on. Let me see what's going on with this Angel Gomez guy. Fucking hell. Jeez. What happened here? I don't see any news on it. What happened to him, and Danny, let me know. Box says, I think Southampton, Leicester, Ipswich are safe bets for relegation. Hopefully, if we're interested in any players, we do some groundwork now. Yeah, I did a video last month on 3 clubs who are facing relegation. I picked like 2 players from each one that I'd like us to go get, maybe who would improve us. So you guys can check that video out too. Then he says, "Oh, okay, my bad. Thought he's getting surgery. He started, and then I'm looking at FootMob, and he was subbed off in the 46th minute, and there's that little kind of like plus sign next to his name. So that means he picked up an injury. So he was obviously injured for a minute. He played in the Champions League and got a goal just the other day against Feyenoord, but then maybe he got another injury again. Interesting. Lionheart's better late than never. Well, that was a poop show. It really, really was. It's like, the beauty of the internet is great, because whenever I watch any of these matches, the only thing that pops in my mind is that Jeff Goldblum gif from Jurassic Park where he's walking and he's like, well, that is one big pile of shit. That's what runs through my mind every time we have a performance like this. But you are being very polite, like Lionheart says. Lionheart, if you have any D words to describe that, we were doing a D word thing earlier. We looked at dross, dire, depressing. I'd throw disheartening in there. That would be one that I would throw out. Box says Marseille 1-1 Lyon, equalizer by Greenwood. Yeah, of course it is. We're not going to go into the Greenwood stuff because that's very, very divisive, between this fan base sometimes. But in any case, it was not a good match, obviously. If we go the whole season without being able to put together back-to-back wins in the league, I don't know how to describe that, because that would be extremely worrying in my opinion. That is not sustainable form. You can't hope to challenge for anything. I hope that Ineos aren't just writing off the season. Obviously, they brought in Dorgu, they brought in Heaven. We made offers for Tell. It doesn't seem like they're writing the season off, but we have to find a way to back Ruben Amorim before the deadline day closes tomorrow. So we'll do a fun little video on Ineos and all that January stuff after the window closes. Danny says, how's Greenwood playing? Who's better, him or Turkey? I don't watch the French league, unfortunately. I watch more of Lyon because I have a vested interest in Turkey, but I don't get the channel that the French league is on. So Lionhearts, I do try. It's getting more difficult every week. Diarrhea is another D word. It is. It is, folks. There it is. D is for dross, for depressing, for deflated, for diarrhea. And also for Danny, right? There you go. Rob says Dumb and Dumber Defenders. Yeah, defenseless, maybe. Yeah, Lionhearts, it just was like happenstance that we were describing the performance a little bit earlier, and everybody just seemed to be using words that started with D, so it just became a joke. Disjointed, there's a good one. I like that. I like that one. Nick, welcome, my friend. How are we? Are just wrapping up now, Nick. Box says, any thoughts on Pavlidis as a center forward? 26 Benfica at the moment, seems to be doing rather right. Yeah, I think he just join them. I did a scouting report on him. Oh, where was he at before? I want to say he was in the Dutch league, but I can't remember off the top of my head. This would have been like 2 years ago, and he was pretty good. I haven't seen enough of him since he went to Benfica, but if you want him from Benfica, it's going to cost you 100 mil probably. Then he says, wanted him last season before Benfica signed him. PSV, yeah, he was at PSV. That's what I thought. One of those in the Eredivisie. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's hard to keep him straight because it was him and Jimenez who were kind of neck and neck for goal scoring a couple seasons ago, I think, in the Eredivisie. So that's why I looked at that. So, but that's going to do it for me, you guys. Thank you guys for stopping by. Sorry it couldn't have been under more positive circumstances, but it is what it is. We will try to stop back by tomorrow as the transfer day, deadline day kind of wraps up to get everyone's thoughts on just the deals, the latest and greatest. So we'll be keeping an eye on all the rumors for tonight and tomorrow morning. Until then, don't let this ruin your weekend. Hopefully you guys have some better, more relaxing, more enjoyable ways to wrap up. So until then, please like the video. We are on the road to 3K as well, so it does help when you subscribe. Share it if you would, hit the bell to make sure you don't miss out on anything. Look at the memberships if you guys are interested in getting involved in the channel a little bit more and how you can contribute to the content with scouting reports and questions and whatnot. So guys, take it easy. I will see you on the next one, probably tomorrow evening, to talk about transfer stuff. But as always, thank you, and I will talk to you later. Bye.